Hello and welcome. It's been a constant discussion and a constant debate for a long time. Where do the rights of the inhabitants of our forests, from the human point of view, come in? Where does that end? And what about the tigers and the wild animals who live out there? It's been one of the themes that we've been taking a close look at as part of the NDTV SL Save the Tigers campaign as well. And we are going to be taking a look today in this program very carefully and closely at what needs to be done so that nobody really suffers too much in one way or the other. And joining us on this program, let me start by welcoming Belinda Wright. It's great to have you with us, Belinda. As somebody who's been as Executive Director of the Wildlife Protection Society of India, you've been talking about the need to get humans a little bit away from the tiger and the other animals who are there who are there. Madhu Sareen, who's an independent environmentalist, feels that whenever we are doing this, we have to make sure that tribals and others are not treated in an unfair manner. Okay, let me not paraphrase what you're going to say, Madhu. I'll get you to say it directly. Ravi Singh, the Director of WWF India, it's great to have you with us as well. Smita Gupta, Fellow Institute for Human Development at the JNU. And Ajay Dubey, who's just filed a PIL in the Supreme Court seeking a ban on all wildlife tourism.
Not all ban. I just want ban in core area.
Okay, so you want a ban on core area. So let me start, in fact, with you. What is it that you are asking for and why?
Tourism, basically, किसी एक को profit दे वो बिल्कुल accept नहीं किया जाएगा. We want control tourism. Regulations होना चाहिए, rules होना चाहिए. जो आज के status है, वो बिल्कुल ऐसा नहीं है. चाहे वो मध्य प्रदेश की बात हो, एक तरफ स्विमिंग पूल है रिजॉर्ट्स में और एक तरफ पीने का पानी नहीं है. तो कहीं ना कहीं इस तरह का जो डिफरेंस है वो दूर होना चाहिए. कहीं ना कहीं ये चीज अभी तक बंद थी और मेरे ख्याल से जैसा मेरा इंट्रोडक्शन हुआ कि मैं पेटिशनर हूं, मैं पेटिशनर के अलावा आदिवासियों के लिए काफी समय से काम कर रहा हूं. ये मैंने जो डिफरेंस देखा था उसके लिए कोर्ट को गुहार लगाई है.
Okay, let me get you in.
Yes, I'd like to come in on this because I think this case is a very important entry point into the debate which has been going on between the rights of tribals in the critical wildlife habitats in general and tiger reserves in particular. On the one hand, people make the argument to throw the tribals out because they're living there somehow by definition is bad for the tigers. On the other hand, when it comes to money, finance, industry, tourism, then it's all right. They can go in where they want in these safaris, puffing smoke all over and riding on a huge multi-million-dollar industry. So I think this raises the important question of people's rights. And if we are going to subvert people's rights, let's first look at how we are going to notify areas, whose rights we are going to take into account, and what is the process by which we are going to do this.
Okay, Ravi?
I think from a conservation point of view, it is an agreed fact that people like you and me and Indians need to go to wildlife areas to see their wildlife and see the tiger. And that's the accepted or basic norm today. There's no other way for ordinary people to do that. However, where we are seeing extreme pressure on our national parks and sanctuaries, we find it very difficult as conservationists to accept that because there is no real control on what is happening around these national parks and the kind of footprint that we are seeing of these tourism impacts in these areas. Secondly, I think there must be a clarity in terms of definitions. And I'd request all of you who need to go into areas of knowledge in this aspect, there's a differentiation between core critical areas, habitats, breeding areas, natal areas. And perhaps later in the discussion we can talk about it. But at the same time, there's a differentiation between tourism, responsible tourism, and ecotourism. So I know it's a little confusing because we are on a television show, but for those of you who are interested in this, this is an aspect you need to understand.
All right, Madhu, let me get you in.
Yeah, firstly, I'd just like to also explain that I'm not just an environmentalist, but I was very involved with the fight for the Forest Rights Act. And I feel, I feel very, very strongly for wildlife conservation. I've always been an animal lover, etc. So it's not to say that, I feel that it's a secondary concern. The question is, how are we going to conserve our tigers or protect our tigers. I'm moving a bit away from the tourism debate because I think that's a subset within the larger debate. And I think we need to look at 2-3 very key issues. One is that can you save tigers or wildlife per se when your entire framework of conservation is built on violating the law? Today, these critical tiger habitats or core areas, as they have supposedly been notified, have been notified by a process or a procedure which violates not only the Forest Rights Act, but also the amended Wildlife Protection Act. So illegality cannot be the foundation. The second is that it is not a question of tiger versus tribal or that kind of thing. The basic question is, can you have conservation which is not rooted in justice? If we are talking about taking over the habitats, I mean, these habitats have also been the habitats of these communities for centuries, long before, you know, the notion of even the Wildlife Protection Act was enacted, or all these, you know, protected areas, etc., came in. Now, the Constitution
But it's
also
not that some of the
protects their
communities don't want to be relocated.
No,
Sometimes we tend to say, oh, they're very happy to be inside there.
Look, that is totally different. I'm not saying where they want to go.
A lot of them
No
do.
one is going to, well, I'm not so sure. I mean, we are also in touch with, and the way they are being kicked out, you know, you take Achanakmar, you take from Simlipal, you know, Jainabil, people have died. They've just been dumped. They've been threatened. In Achanakmar, in the middle of the night, they were loaded in buses and told, unless you move, elephants are going to be let loose on your huts, and you will be killed and your homes will be destroyed.
Okay.
That's when if that is the way you're going to get rid of people whose entire life and culture is rooted in that same environment. Just lastly, who can be the best protectors of wildlife and whose knowledge is most valuable? Is it the untrained forest guard? We may give him guns, we may give him better equipment, or is it the person who has coexisted with the wildlife?
Okay, let's just come back to all of these.
What importance are we giving to their knowledge? By kicking them out, we are even destroying and losing that knowledge.
Do you have the NDTV Profit app? All the markets, all the news, and your own homemade, ready-made portfolio available there for you.
We will right now answer what you should sell, what you should buy when markets are down.
Download at ndtvprofit.com/apps. Get the best app from the channel you trust.